During Thursday's press briefing, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, saying that President Biden, quote, doesn't understand the soul of America. McCarthy's comment comes before Biden's primetime address about the state of the country. In response, Jean-Pierre slammed McCarthy for his stance on the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Although McCarthy condemned the insurrection at the time, Jean-Pierre claimed the minority leader has had a change of heart and slammed him for punishing other Republicans like Liz Cheney, who has been an outspoken leader on the January 6th investigation committee. Jean-Pierre avoided the reporter's follow-up question about whether the president and McCarthy have any type of relationship today, as he may soon become the majority leader.
You guys have talked about the president's speech tonight as one that's about the continued battle for the soul of the nation. Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy said this morning that the president does not understand the soul of America. Since we're a year and a half into this presidency and the country is still so divided, could McCarthy have a point?
So let me say a few things about the response to Kevin McCarthy. And it comes from himself, like what he said on January 6th, after January 6, 2021, 1 week after the January 6th insurrection, January 13th. And, you know, he said the violence, destruction, and chaos we saw earlier was unacceptable. He said this on January 13th of 2021. It was undemocratic. It was un-American. We all should stand united in condemning the mob together. And then he said, the president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mobs, rioters. He's speaking about the former president. The president strongly agrees with Kevin McCarthy on the January 6th comments and the January 13th, 2021 comments, and does not find the comments that Kevin McCarthy made then to be divisive in the least, but rather aligning with fundamental, nonpartisan, mainstream American values that we uphold the rule of law, reject political violence, and condemn violence against law enforcement. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about protecting our democracy, when we're talking about fighting our democracy. Those were the words of Kevin McCarthy. And the president agreed with that Kevin McCarthy. He agreed with the Kevin McCarthy of January 6th. He agreed with the Kevin McCarthy of January 13 of 2021. And what we hear from him, of course, is a change of heart, and even formally punished fellow Republicans like Liz Cheney, who've had the courage to consistently tell the truth about the attack on the rule of law and the law enforcement that day, and continuing to the threat to democracy that these extreme conspiracy theories represent. That is what we're talking about. And as far as what the president is going to say tonight, we've talked about this. When he talks about the soul of the nation, this is not a topic that is new to him. If you followed him throughout this administration, also through the campaign, this is a topic that he has talked about for some time, since 2017. And this speech, just to give you a little bit about what the speech is going to be about, it's going to be optimistic. He will speak about how he believes we can get through this current moment, this critical moment that we are currently in. He believes this is a moment where a lot is at stake. You'll hear him talk about the core values of what is at the stake in this moment, and how he is going to continue to protect equality and democracy. He will also talk about in a very direct way about what he sees as a threat at this moment in time. Basically, what Kevin McCarthy said on January 6, 2021, what Kevin McCarthy said on January 13, 2021, the threat of our democracy, that insurrection, that mob that we saw come down on the Capitol.
Just two quick follow-ups on that, though. You're talking about Kevin McCarthy from that day. We've obviously seen, like you said, a pretty big change of heart from Leader McCarthy, who has since really distanced himself from any investigation into January 6th, really stood lockstep with the former president. So I guess I'm asking about, what's the president's relationship and thoughts about Kevin McCarthy today? Does he have a relationship with him? I mean, he could very easily become the next Speaker of the House. Does he talk to him? Does he view Kevin McCarthy as one of these MAGA Republicans who's a threat to democracy?
Here's what I'm going to say. I've already laid out what we think about Kevin McCarthy. We're not going to go into any more specifics on that. This is what we're talking about tonight, is what the president's going to deliver to the American people, and why it is important why he sees it's important to have this conversation, why it is so important to talk about what is at stake at this moment. When you ask me about the mega agenda, especially as it relates to Congress, as it relates to elected officials, it is one of the most extreme agendas that we have seen. And it is a part of it is the extreme part of the Republican Party. And we're talking about they want nationwide ban on abortions. They want to give tax cut to billionaires and corporations while raising taxes on middle-class Americans. They are threatening political violence, and they are attacking our democracy. And so the president is going to take this time to talk to the American people who majority agree with him on, and talk about, how can we continue to fight for our democracy and do it in an optimistic way. Take that moment to give people hope, because this president believes that we can turn this around.